Hi, I'm Cody Stewart, representing Koryu Uchinadi. I often come back to the notion that your stance supports your posture, which in turn supports your technique. In this KU Quick Tip, I'll look at one aspect of this, staying inside your frame. There is a useful range implied by your stance that roughly spans the angle between your legs. I also want to consider a useful range for my arms, being at most from one side around to the other, but you'll probably find you lose considerable strength outside a range somewhat smaller than that. So we have these two guidelines defining our frame, and generally I want my opponent, or at least my effort, contained within the overlap region. Staying within my frame is usually a matter of positioning and continually repositioning to keep my stance in line with my posture, supporting my technique. So a really simple example to illustrate the point from a technique we've seen in a previous video. If I have this punch coming this way and I move in to intercept it in this way, to follow up with my punches, I have chosen a stance that supports the technique I'm going to do, keeps him inside my frame. If I had chosen the opposite stance, I'm now reaching outside my frame for this block as well as the punch. Consider the context of trying to do a straight armbar in this way. I'm pushing forward and up in this direction, and I have a stance that supports this inside my frame. If I can't get this arm straight because he's resisting, I may switch to something like a figure four. And this is a very different direction of pushing, and you can see that I no longer have a stance to support that. Let's have a look on the other side. So again, if I start with the armbar up and move to the figure four, I could very well be reaching outside my frame without a readjustment to bring that back inside. So another example involves using Gyakuzen Kutsudachi to achieve a balance displacement as well as an elbow hyperextension. So at first glance, it looks as though he's behind me or slightly beside me outside my frame, but my action is to pull him inside my frame rather than to reach backwards outside my frame. So having a quick look at that without him, there is a tendency for people to reach outside their frame behind them rather than draw the person back inside their frame. Depending on context, we may be forced to deal with an opponent who attacks from outside our preferred frame. This is not an exception to the rule, it's good tactics on his part. But just because his body is outside my frame doesn't mean that my actions necessarily need to be. But of course, if I have the opportunity to turn to face him, I will. Let's consider the example of a bear hug from behind. Whether it's to tackle you or to lift, I don't want to expand outside my frame. Even though my partner is outside my frame, my action will be drawing inside. Whether it's to increase my stability, trying to make a little bit of space here, I may also step back into his stance. I have an action that is entirely inside my frame, even though I'm using that action to compromise him. Maybe breaking off the grip is still an action inside my frame, even to moving to something like a throw. Even though he's behind me, that is still an action inside my frame. There are some actions that may require you to violate this principle momentarily. Backwards elbows come to mind, some throws, for example. But as a general rule, you want to stay inside your frame or have a very good reason not to. If you found this quick tip valuable, please subscribe and have a look at my channel for other tips to aid your training. I'm Cody Stewart. Thanks for watching.